Lesson 19. Dialogue. I won't say a word. Carlos and Jim work for an international firm which has its headquarters in Latin America. Carlos speaks English fluently and usually converses in English with Jim, an American executive of the firm.
Are you going on another trip?
Yes, I'm leaving tomorrow.
Where are you going this time?
First, I'm going to Toronto. There's a meeting of all our Canadian sales representatives there.
I've always heard you can have a good time in Toronto. Where are you going from there?
I'm planning to stop over in New York.
How long will you stay there?
I'll only be there 2 days, then I'll come straight back.
I wish the company would send me on a trip sometime.
I'll tell you something if you don't tell anybody.
Tell me. I won't say a word to anybody.
At the last executive meeting, they discussed the possibility of sending you to London in May.
That's wonderful news. It's great. Can I take my wife? I can't wait to tell her. I think I'll call her right away. Can I use your phone?
Practice drills and exercises. 1. Direct and indirect speech. Report these statements, commands, and questions. Use if in reporting the yes-no questions. Listen to the model.
1. Can I take my wife if I go? Carlos wanted to know.
Carlos wanted to know if he could take his wife if he went.
Carlos wanted to know if he could take his wife if he went.
Carlos wanted to know if he could take his wife if he went.
Now do the exercise.
1. Can I take my wife if I go? Carlos wanted to know.
Carlos wanted to know if he could take his wife if he went.
2. If I have time, I'll help you, she told us.
She told us that if she had time, she'd help us.
3. Will you be home tonight? The insurance agent asked.
The insurance agent asked if I'd be home tonight.
4. Where did you see him? Ted wanted to know.
Ted wanted to know where I saw him.
5. Don't be late for dinner, Mrs. Flower told Millie.
Mrs. Flower told Millie not to be late for dinner.
6. Will you come over if you aren't busy? Jane asked Bill.
Jane asked Bill if he would come over if he wasn't busy.
7. Why did you do that? Alan asked Carlos.
Alan asked Carlos why he did that.
8. Don't forget our appointment, Mrs. Norton said.
Mrs. Norton said not to forget our appointment.
2. Reporting statements and questions. Refer to the dialogue on page 162. Report what each speaker said. Listen to the model.
1. Carlos.
Carlos asked Jim if he was going on another trip.
Carlos asked Jim if he was going on another trip.
Carlos asked Jim if he was going on another trip.
Now you do the exercise.
1. Carlos.
Carlos asked Jim if he was going on another trip.
2. Jim.
'Jim answered that he was leaving tomorrow.
3. Carlos.
'Carlos then asked him where he was going this time.
4. Jim.
'Jim told him that he was going to Toronto first. He said there was a meeting of all their Canadian sales representatives there.
3. Reported speech. Time references. Take the part of the reporter. Read the sentence, filling the blank with the correct time expression. Listen to the model.
1. Monday, January 9th.
I'm planning to leave for Toronto tomorrow.
Thursday, January 12th.
Jim said he was planning to leave for Toronto on Tuesday.
Jim said he was planning to leave for Toronto on Tuesday.
Jim said he was planning to leave for Toronto on Tuesday.
Now do the exercise.
1. Monday, January 9th.
I'm planning to leave for Toronto tomorrow.
Thursday, January 12th. Jim said he was planning to leave for Toronto on Tuesday.
Two, Wednesday, February 1st. Meet me downtown the day after tomorrow. Thursday, February 2nd.
Mr. Forrest told me to meet him downtown tomorrow.
3. June 1975.
I visited the United States 2 years ago.
July 1975. Mrs. Beckett said she visited the United States 2 years ago.
4. 12:50 p.m., August 6th.
I left the meeting a few minutes ago.
4 p.m., August 6th. Mr. Davis said he left the meeting a little before 1. 5. 7 p.m., Monday, March 6th.
I'll call you tomorrow afternoon.
2 p.m., Tuesday, March 7th. Mr. Wells said he'd call me this afternoon.
6. Friday, June 4th.
The work will be finished tomorrow.
Tuesday, June 8th. Mrs. Clayton said the work would be finished on Saturday.
5. The subordinator although. Change the sentences as in the models using although. Listen.
1. Tom has studied Spanish, but he doesn't speak it.
Although Tom has studied Spanish, he doesn't speak it.
Although Tom has studied Spanish, he doesn't speak it.
Although Tom has studied Spanish, he doesn't speak it.
2. Mary has a tape recorder, but she never uses it.
Although Mary has a tape recorder, she never uses it.
Although Mary has a tape recorder, she never uses it.
Although Mary has a tape recorder, she never uses it.
Now you do the exercise.
3. We were quite hungry, but we couldn't eat anything.
Although we were quite hungry, we couldn't eat anything.
Four. Jim has a tape recorder, but he never listens to tapes.
Although Jim has a tape recorder, he never listens to tapes.
Five. He was born in Brazil, but he doesn't speak Portuguese very well.
Although he was born in Brazil, he doesn't speak Portuguese very well.
Six. Bob likes Patricia, but he's never told her.
Although Bob likes Patricia, he's never told her.
Seven. Man has probably been able to speak for 1,000,000 years, but he's been able to write for only a few thousand years.
Although man has probably been able to speak for 1,000,000 years, he's been able to write for only a few thousand years.
Eight. Gordon didn't want to write the letter, but he kept his promise and wrote it.
Although Gordon didn't want to write the letter, he kept his promise and wrote it.
Vocabulary study. Sentence pairs. Repeat, please.
1. Die out. The fire gradually stopped burning. It died out slowly. Some of the largest animals on Earth have disappeared. Some kinds of animals have died out.
2. Take place. Something important happened in 1968. Something important took place in 1968. They were married in France. The marriage took place in Paris.
3. Period. 10 years is not very long. It's a short period of time in the history of a country. The years between 1600 and 1650 were very exciting. It was an interesting period in which to live.
4. Exchange.
I told him my ideas, and he told me his.
We had an exchange of ideas.
Mr. Smith gave his wife a necklace. She gave him a watch.
The exchange of gifts took place on their wedding anniversary.
5. Universal. Some form of life is found everywhere on Earth. Life is universal. Everyone must have food in order to live. Food is a universal need.
Reading.
Generation, member, power, remarkable.
I always enjoy visiting the home of my friend Frank Summerall. He has a very interesting family. Frank's grandparents on his mother's side came to live with them about 10 years ago, so there are 3 generations living in the same household. Although 3 generations are represented, it is a small family. There are only 5 members: Frank, his parents, and grandparents. I especially enjoy visiting with his grandfather. Although he is more than 90 years old, his powers of sight and hearing are remarkable. I sometimes think he can see and hear almost as well as I can. There is nothing wrong with his memory either. He can entertain you for hours telling you of exciting experiences he has had and of life a long time ago.
Word definitions. Listen to the definition and then repeat the sentences.
1. Form. Noun. A kind, a sort, or a variety.
Ice and snow are forms of water. There are countless forms of animal life.
B. In grammar, the shape of a word.
Went is the past form of the verb go. The plural form of child is children.
2. Fully. Adverb. Completely, entirely.
John's still growing. He's not fully grown. Jerry doesn't fully realize the importance of education.
Three. Linguist. Noun. A specialist in the science of language. Also one who speaks several languages.
Dr. Jones wrote an excellent paper on English verbs. He's a famous linguist. Mrs. Wilson speaks several languages. She's a good linguist.
Four. Possess. Verb. Have, own, hold.
He's rich. He possesses a great deal of money. We possessed some very important information.
Five. Possession. Noun. Thing owned or held.
We lost all our possessions in the fire. What's your most important possession?
6. Remarkable. Adjective. Unusual, uncommon, not ordinary.
He's a remarkable young man. He has a remarkable knowledge of astronomy.
7. Various. Adjective. Several, many, different.
Various people told me to read the book. I have various ideas on the subject.
Vocabulary checkup. Exercise 1. Repeat these words.
Die out. Exchange. Generation. Member. Period. Possession. Power.
Now use the correct form of the words in the list to complete the sentences. Listen to the model.
1.
There are 9 people in my family. How many members are there in yours?
There are 9 people in my family. How many members are there in yours?
There are 9 people in my family. How many members are there in yours?
Now do the exercise.
1. There are 9 people in my family. How many members are there in yours?
2. He's lost the ability to hear. He has lost his power of hearing.
3. Sometimes older people don't understand young people. The older generation and the younger generation do not always communicate.
4. Many important discoveries were made between 1960 and 1970. This was an exciting period in which to live.
5. Before I went to Latin America, I sold everything I owned. I sold all my possessions.
6. The sound of the music became softer and softer. Finally, the sound died out completely.
7. Mary always tells Jane her secrets, and Jane tells Mary all of hers. This exchange of secrets takes place almost every day.
2. Repeat these words.
Form. Fully. Large. Possess. Remarkable. Take place. Various.
Now read the sentences again using a synonym of the italicized words. Use only words from the list. Listen to the example.
They bought a big house.
They bought a large house.
They bought a large house.
They bought a large house.
Now do the exercise.
1. The fire happened last year.
The fire took place last year.
2. The fruit on the tree was not completely developed.
The fruit on the tree was not fully developed.
3. German is spoken in several Central European countries.
German is spoken in various Central European countries.
4. There are many kinds of life on earth.
There are many forms of life on earth.
Mr. Black doesn't own a car or house.
Mr. Black doesn't possess a car or house.
6. Bob has a very unusual memory.
Bob has a very remarkable memory.
End of lesson 19.